It was a rainy Thursday afternoon when Marcus Kingsley stepped out of the elevator and into the crowded lobby of Riverstone General Hospital. The smell of disinfectant hung thick in the air. Dressed in a dark blue suit and polished shoes, Marcus looked like someone with power, money, and secrets. But inside he felt hollow. This was the hospital where his wife had died 2 years ago. Every corner of it reminded him of her smile, her laugh, her last breath. He sighed and reached into his coat pocket for his phone, only to freeze. His wallet was gone. Marcus spun around, scanning the crowd. That's when he spotted a small figure slipping quickly toward the exit, a black boy in a worn gray hoodie, maybe 12 years old, moving like he had something to hide. His pocket bulged. The boy looked back. Their eyes met. Then the boy ran. "Stop!" Marcus shouted, already chasing him through the automatic doors. Rain poured from the sky as the boy splashed through puddles, turning down a busy street. But Marcus had played tennis all his life. He was fast. He caught up to the boy near a broken bench outside a bus stop and grabbed his arm. "Let me go," the boy yelled, eyes wide with panic. "You took my wallet," Marcus said, panting. The boy stopped struggling and looked down. Rain dripped off the edge of his hoodie. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't mean to. I just didn't know what else to do." "What's your name?" Marcus asked, gripping the boy's arm just tight enough to keep him from running. "Jason." Marcus let go. "Give it back, Jason." The boy reached into his hoodie and slowly pulled out the wallet. Everything was still there, cards, ID, cash. Jason hadn't touched a thing. "You didn't steal to get rich," Marcus said softly. "You're desperate." Jason looked down, then up at Marcus with tearful eyes. "My mom, she's sick. Real sick. They said she might die if we don't pay. They won't help her unless we give them more money, and we don't have anything." I didn't know what else to do. Marcus's breath caught in his chest. "What's her name?" "Mariah. Room 413. What are they saying she has?" "They keep changing their minds," Jason said, voice trembling. "One nurse said pneumonia, another said fluid in her lungs. All they care about is money. They won't even tell me what's really wrong." Marcus's hands clenched into fists. The memories rushed back, his wife Elena, weak and scared in a cold hospital bed. The doctors making excuses. The bills that came with no answers. And the man who ran it all, Dr. Victor Hale. Cold. Heartless. Cruel. "Who's in charge of her case?" Marcus asked. "Dr. Hale," Jason said quietly. "He doesn't even look at her. He just tells me we owe more every time I ask questions." Marcus stared at the hospital's entrance. It was happening again. The same lies. The same cruelty. But not this time. He looked back at Jason. "I believe you." Jason blinked. "You do?" "Yes. And I'm going to help you. But I need you to help me too." Jason's shoulders tensed. "Why would you need my help?" "Because I think something very wrong is going on in that hospital. I need someone who's seen it from the inside. Someone who knows what's happening when no one's looking." Jason hesitated. "What would I have to do?" "Just observe," Marcus said. "Tell me who's saying what. When things change. When things don't make sense." Jason bit his lip. "And you'll help my mom?" "I'll pay for her treatment right now," Marcus promised. "She'll get the best doctors. But we won't stop there. We're going to expose them for what they really are." Jason wiped his nose on his sleeve and nodded. "Good," Marcus said. "Now come with me." Back inside, Jason led Marcus to room 413. Mariah lay in bed, her face pale and her breath shallow. Her eyes flicked open when Jason whispered her name. A nurse walked in and froze at the sight of Marcus. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Yes. I'm covering all her costs. Starting now." The nurse blinked, stunned. I'll have to speak with the administrator." "Do that," Marcus said, his voice calm but cold. An hour later, new doctors were in the room. Machines beeped. Medicines were given. A real specialist was called in. Mariah finally received the care she should have had from the start. Jason stood by his mom's side, silent, watching everything. Later, Marcus took Jason to his house. The boy's eyes widened at the high ceilings and soft carpets. But Marcus didn't smile. He was already thinking ahead. He gave Jason a small notebook. "Write everything you see and hear. Anything strange. Anyone who acts like they're hiding something." Jason looked up at him. "I can do that." "You'll be safe," Marcus said. "I promise." That night, Jason curled up in a warm bed, gripping the notebook tightly. Across the hall, Marcus stared at a photo of Elena. "I couldn't save you," he whispered. "But maybe this time I can save someone." And with that, the first quiet strike against Riverstone had begun. The next morning, Jason walked back into Riverstone General Hospital with his notebook tucked safely inside his jacket. His mother was finally stable, her breathing easier, her face less pale. She was still weak, but she smiled when Jason kissed her cheek. "I met an angel," she whispered. Jason nodded, but he knew Marcus wasn't an angel, he was something else. A storm waiting to hit. Jason made his way through the hospital halls like he always did, unnoticed. That's what per kids were here, invisible. Nobody cared if they sat too long in the waiting rooms or stared too long at the walls. But Jason was watching now with purpose. He wrote everything down. He wrote how Nurse Patty told a coughing man he needed a scan that cost $500, then whispered something different to another nurse when she thought he'd left. He wrote how a crying mother was told her daughter needed an emergency injection that cost more than her entire paycheck. He saw the same doctor, Dr. Hale, sign papers without ever checking on patients. Always in a hurry. Always cold. One day, Jason overheard two nurses talking in the hallway. They added another procedure to that kid's chart, one whispered. "But he doesn't even have that condition." "It doesn't matter. The family's desperate. They'll pay." Jason wrote it all. Later that night, he handed the notebook to Marcus, who sat in his home office filled with screens and legal papers. Marcus read through the pages in silence. His jaw tightened with every sentence. "They're not just careless," he said finally. "They're predators." "Are they gonna get in trouble?" Jason asked. "They will," Marcus said. "But we need more. We need someone who used to work inside, someone who saw everything." That's when Marcus reached out to an old contact, someone he'd read about but never met. Her name was Layla Brown, a former nurse at Riverstone. She'd been fired for asking too many questions, for refusing to stay silent. She met them in a quiet cafe 2 towns away. Layla was a tall, serious woman with tired eyes and hands that trembled just a little. "I remember Mariah," she said when Jason showed her his mother's chart. "They kept her here longer than needed. Changed her file after I spoke up." "Why?" Marcus asked. "Money," Layla said. "It's always money. They bill insurance for tests patients don't need. Sometimes they scare families into paying cash. If someone questions it, they get rid of them like they did to me." Jason leaned forward. "But how do they get away with it?" Layla looked around before answering. "Dr. Hale has friends, powerful ones. He's protected. Administrators, some city officials, even law enforcement turn a blind eye. But if you can find the billing records and prove the lies, you might break it wide open." Marcus nodded slowly. "Then that's what we'll do." The plan was dangerous, but they moved carefully. Marcus hired a private investigator to get copies of hospital billing statements. Layla helped decode them. Jason continued to watch, listen, and write. Then one day, Jason found something terrifying. He was walking past the records room when he heard 2 men talking behind the door. "Someone's digging," said one voice. "That kid's always hanging around. That woman's condition was supposed to be unfixable. Why is she improving? You think someone's helping him?" "I don't know. But if we find out, we shut it down. Fast." Jason backed away quietly, heart pounding. That night, he told Marcus everything. "They know something's wrong. They're watching me." Marcus knelt beside him. "You did the right thing, Jason. But we stop now. I won't risk your life." "No," Jason said firmly. "I'm not stopping. I want to do this. For my mom. For all the other people they've hurt." Marcus looked at him, eyes full of both pride and fear. "Then we do it together. Every step." The final piece came from Layla. She revealed that Dr. Hale had hidden records stored off-site in a private office downtown. With Marcus's resources, they found it. And what they uncovered was worse than anyone imagined. Files showed unnecessary surgeries, false diagnoses, and fake doctor notes. Hundreds of families. All tricked. Some left bankrupt. Some left grieving. Marcus gathered everything. It was time. A city hearing was called. Lawyers tried to block it. Hospital administrators panicked. But Marcus stepped forward, standing tall beside Jason and Layla. And when he spoke, calm, sharp, and full of truth, the room went silent. He handed over the files, the notebook, the testimonies. He played recordings. Showed photos. One by one, families stood up and told their stories. Dr. Hale sat in the back, pale and frozen. For once, he had nothing to say. By the end of the hearing, the mayor had called for a full investigation. Riverstone Hospital was no longer untouchable. And Jason, the boy no one saw, had become the voice they couldn't ignore. 2 months later, Riverstone Hospital looked nothing like it used to. The halls were quieter. The fear that once lived in the walls was gone. Nurses smiled again. Patients got real answers. And Dr. Victor Hale? He was gone, arrested and charged with medical fraud, conspiracy, and manslaughter. His cold empire had fallen like a house of cards. The court case made national news. Dozens of families testified. Layla stood proud, finally heard after years of being silenced. Jason sat beside his mom, now healthy and glowing with life. When it was Jason's turn to speak, the courtroom went still. "I'm just a kid," he said into the microphone. "But I knew something was wrong. They treated my mom like she didn't matter. Like poor people don't feel pain. I stole a wallet to save her. But I didn't know that man I stole from would save more than just my mom. He helped me believe we could fight back and win." Marcus sat at the back of the courtroom, his eyes wet. He wasn't the same man he had been when he first saw Jason running through the rain. Back then, he was broken. Now he was something new. Stronger. Focused. Changed. Dr. Hale was sentenced to 25 years in prison. His assistants and hospital partners faced charges too. The city launched a task force to review every hospital in the region. Change had started and it was spreading. But the biggest change came from what Marcus built next. 6 months later, the Elena Kingsley Foundation opened its doors. Named after his late wife, the foundation offered free medical support to struggling families and helped victims of medical fraud sue for justice. There were lawyers, nurses, advocates, volunteers, and Jason. He helped hand out care kits, led tours, sat in meetings and shared his story. His mom, Mariah, worked in the Family Outreach Center, holding the hands of scared mothers just like she once had been. She helped them believe again. One afternoon, Marcus called Jason into his office. "I've been thinking," Marcus said, handing him a small envelope. "This is your scholarship letter. Full ride to any school you want. You've earned it." Jason's hands trembled as he opened it. "You really think I can do college?" "I think you can do anything," Marcus said. "You didn't just survive, Jason. You led a movement. You stood tall when others were afraid. That kind of courage can change the world." Jason looked up with tears in his eyes. "I want to be like you." Marcus smiled. "Don't be like me. Be better." Outside, the sky was bright. The world a little fairer. And as Jason stepped out into the sun, he carried more than just a notebook or a story. He carried hope for every kid who'd been overlooked, every parent who'd been silenced, every patient who'd been told they didn't matter. Because now they did. And it all started with a wallet, a lie, and a choice to help when no one else would.